everyone, and hello to you, Babula, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Here we go on another round.
Oh, I know. Oh my gosh, I feel like we're on the starters block of the year.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a sizzler of a year.
Yep.
We've had a boot on the neck situation with Pluto and Capricorn for a few years now. But soon Pluto is going to move into Aquarius, and what will happen as it makes its move into Aquarius and for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking quite a bit about that probably this year, through the year. So for now, though, tune into the Astrology Now episodes with Babula and myself throughout the year by clicking on the subscribe button, because no doubt we will chat lots and lots about it. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Capricorn, oh my gosh, really has been a boot on the neck situation for humanity in a lot of ways, hasn't it?
Yes, we're well and truly in Capricorn season now, and of course with Pluto sitting right at the very end of the sign after a long, very powerful journey since 2008 when Pluto first moved in there. That Capricorn energy is very present with us currently, because as we know, the sun's currently in Capricorn. A few days ago, before the new moon, Mars moved into Capricorn. So I want to talk about that because that's pretty important. And Mercury will go into Capricorn a bit later in the month. Venus will go into Capricorn. But also later in the month, as you said, there's that shift that will start to happen with various planets, Pluto especially, moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius. So it's a very interesting month as we sit across that Capricorn Aquarius story.
And it's a big year. It's a big sizzle year. It's like we're sort of in the last year of before planets change signs, aren't we?
That's right.
Also thinking of like Neptune in Pisces, next year it changes.
Yeah.
What else was there? Uranus in Taurus until mid next year. This is sort of like the last year plus a bit of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's huge times over the next few years with all these slow moving outer planets changing sign. It's phenomenal that they're all happening pretty much around the same period, just a couple of years.
Yeah. So as Capricorn would say, let's crack on, get down to the nitty gritty.
Let's get to work.
Let's get to work. Oh my God. Go
Yeah.
for it, Paula.
Yeah, and we were just saying, before we started recording, both of us, like I've had a bit of a break, which has been lovely. It was a big year last year. And now this week, like, okay, it's back to work. You can feel it, the energies now. And that's very Capricorn. It's a Capricorn time of year. And Capricorn is the sign that literally puts us to work. You've got a job to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every Capricorn knows, they've got a job to do. There's a mission, there's a purpose.
Yeah.
And it's not a sign that's light and fluffy. It's not a sign that's particularly emotional. It's not that Capricorns don't feel and are emotional, but it's not the Capricorn. It'll be something else in their chart, maybe some water energies that support more of the feeling domain. But Capricorn is quite unemotional in many ways. It's absolutely focused on the mission, on the task, on the job, on the purpose, on the goal.
Yeah, let's get on with it. Let's get nose to the grindstone. You've had fun in the previous cycle. It's yay, it's a Sagittarius, yay, all that sort of energy. But now it's all it's like, come on, okay, back to reality. coming in for a touchdown on planet Earth. This is the reality of being on Earth, you know.
That's right. And you know, happily we still have one planet in Sagittarius. Venus is still in Sag for a couple more weeks. So, you know, she certainly allows for a bit of social enjoyment and pleasure and a little bit of adventure. So it's not all you know, meat and potatoes. It's you know, there's a little bit of light relief there, but we're very much in Capricorn time and, you know, building up to the Capricorn new moon. So Mars is in a sign for 6 weeks, and he's now in Capricorn, and that's significant for a few reasons. One is that we say in astrology that Mars is exalted in Capricorn, so it rules Aries and Scorpio, but it's like Capricorn is a sort of an honorary position for it. You know, it's like if you go into someone's home and you're treated like an honored guest, you don't live there. So Capricorn has a lot of, Mars has a lot of power in Capricorn. And it lends that energy of drive and just sheer energy and force of will to everything Capricorn, you know, to the job at hand, to the task, to the purpose, to the mission. And it just says, roll up your sleeves, no time for funny business, get rid of what's not relevant to the task and get on with it. As anyone with Mars and Capricorn in their birth chart will know, they will live that.
Well, Capricorn too, it's like about getting your nose to the grindstone, but it's also about those long-term goals, isn't it? Those,
yes,
because it's enduring and lasting.
Very much, very enduring. And I know a number of Capricorns, and one thing that stands out for me is that when the going gets tough, Capricorn does not give up. Yeah, I see that again and again. They can be almost at death's door, and no, I made a commitment and I'm going to see that through. And, you know, I have a job to do. It's quite remarkable. That inner strength is so strong.
Yes, I know people like that, and I just think, how the heck did you do that? And why did you do it for so long? That's what the other thing I ask, you know. But, you know, with Mars in Capricorn, it's like, you got a project now, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's kind of cool to me that it's happening at the start of the year, because that's a time when we feel this, particularly those of us who do our own independent work or run a business or something like that. It's like, right, got to get organized. You know, very early in the year, even though I was having a lovely, lovely break, I absolutely went through my diary for the year, and it wasn't about planning events. It was about, I put all the astrological information
I did too.
General for the year, but my own personal in my diary. So it's all there for me, you know, as the days and weeks go by. Like, and it wasn't even a thought, I have to do this. It was just compelled to do it.
Yeah.
It took me a whole day, but it's done.
It's done now.
That's right. That's right. And the satisfaction that Capricorn gets, you know, from, okay, done, complete, next.
Yes. And the other thing I find too is because it's an enduring sign, it'll stick to things, and it actually often becomes the master of whatever it's doing.
Exactly. It's it will, from a very young age. You watch young Capricorn children, they're already planning and thinking ahead about their life and what I'm going to be when I grow up. And when they're at school, they're already thinking about what courses, you know, am I going to go and get a trade, and, you know, can I find the best person to learn from, or am I going to go to university and I'm going to become a professional, you know, am I going to start my own? They're thinking and starting to plan already, and already focusing on the work I need to do to get where I want to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. You'll find, you know, young Capricorns as young adults, you know, they're already well on their way to accomplishing goals.
Yeah. Just to switch gears a little bit with Capricorn, because it's an earth sign. How do you see things playing out on the earth in relation to Capricorn, particularly with Mars there?
Okay, yes, that's great. So Mars traditionally is known as a malefic. You know, the ancients use these terms malefics and benefics. And Mars and Saturn rules Capricorn, and Mars is exalted in Capricorn, are known as malefics. And that just suggests that they can be troublesome and difficult. Mars can be difficult because of his tendency to want to push through regardless. And in Capricorn, he's going to push through regardless, like get out of the way. Nothing's going to stop me, right? But it can also stir up a lot of, anger. And if you don't get out of my way, something's going to happen. So in terms of the world and the earth, things can get quite volatile. Mars is a volatile energy, and Capricorn is a cardinal sign. So there can be a lot of action that can happen on the world stage with the earth herself, earth movements and
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah. And then, Capricorn's a sign that's very much about consequences too, then the aftermath and of whatever decisions we make. Mars has definitely got a lot to do with decisions and the results and the aftermath. We can think of karma. So
Saturn, Lord of Time, karma.
Exactly, the ruler of Capricorn.
Yeah.
On a spiritual level, Capricorn's very interesting. Capricorns are regarded as a sign of initiation. And if you think about that, anything we know about initiation, particularly in Indigenous cultures, for example, initiations weren't a walk in the park. Not a piece of cake. And we all go through initiations in our life. So Capricorn develops through challenges and tough times and difficulties and obstacles. And they get very strong and very clear-eyed and very focused about and very determined, to keep going. And so on a spiritual level, that can be also true for Capricorn, because we can look at every sign on all kinds of levels, the most basic mundane level to a very sort of high exalted spiritual level. So, spiritually, Capricorn can have a lot to do with growing spiritually and becoming more conscious through life's difficulties and challenges.
Yeah, very much so. I can.
And we're all in that, aren't we? The whole world is going through exactly that. Look how much we've all grown and developed in the last 3 years when things have gotten very, very challenging.
We've gone through the sausage mincer, haven't we? The grinder.
Absolutely.
Out the other side. And it's been tough.
Very tough.
And tough for me personally, it's been challenging with anxiety and still feeling a bit of PTSD with looking at what went on the planet. Couldn't believe the craziness.
That's right.
But a lot of people went through a lot worse,
That's right.
Yeah, but everyone has those experiences on their own level as well as collectively.
Yeah. And
it shakes us to the core. That's the other thing I wanted to say. The core, the core within us.
Yes, the core. And that's very Capricorn too, because Capricorn in the body is the bones. Things are stripped back to the bare bones. And one of the things Capricorn teaches us is that when everything is stripped away and we're left with just something very basic, we can still survive and figure out how to grow and flourish from there, without all the usual comforts. And because, the opposite sign is Cancer, that wants everything comfortable and cozy. And Capricorn is, no, I can do without that. I can do it. No, I don't need that. And I don't need that.
Yeah.
And I can use what is left to do what I need to do. It's very
conservative.
Very conservative.
Yeah, and restrictive,
Doesn't spend money or waste money without good reason.
But it's very good with money.
Very good with money. Will always look for the best quality at the best bargain price.
Yeah.
No frivolous, wastage of resources and money. And they know how to make do with less.
They do. It reminds me of that old store we used to have here in the city we're in. called Franklin's. Remember where you had to go around the supermarket and everything was on the shelves in the big boxes that they came in, no frilly packaging, no frilly pricing. You actually had to write the prices on your own product.
Exactly. I remember that.
That's really Capricornian.
It is. Strip it right back.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, the minimalist. It can be a minimalist, and if you go into someone's home and there's not a lot around, maybe there's some Capricorn energy going on there.
That's right. And they'll have what's essential. It'll always be the best quality they can afford. They don't like junk.
Yes. Yeah.
It wants to be well made, last a long time, beautifully designed, well put together, right?
Absolutely.
So it's actually a very complex sign, and it's represented by the mountain goat.
Yes.
And Capricorns often love to live in high places. They like to get elevated. And it symbolizes that arduous effort that is required. Capricorn will not allow laziness.
Yes. Yeah.
Effort is required, and often we're pushed to make effort because if we don't, we're not going to survive. Like, it gets down to the bare bones of things. And so, like the mountain goat, it has to be really hardy and tough to scale the heights of the mountain and get to the top of the mountain.
Yes. Yeah. And living in extreme conditions.
Extreme, difficult conditions.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
Capricornian.
That's right. And the original symbol for Capricorn, the mountain goat, actually has a fish's tail. Very multi-layered, complex sign. And that fish's tail sort of represents, on a spiritual level, Capricorn has a deep connection with soul and mystery and kind of unconscious, invisible forces. And it's no accident to me that many of the great enlightened masters and gurus of this world, past and present, are Capricorns and will have a lot of Capricorn in their chart. They put in the work and the effort over many lifetimes. They've gone through a lot.
Yeah.
And then they kind of come to this place of self-mastery, mastery over the egoic identity.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a walk in the park, because none of that is a walk in the park.
Yeah. You just reminded me that I know quite a few people who've got Capricorn in the first house, and they're so Capricornian in their ways. But I always wanted to say to people, you people who are Capricorn may be thinking, well, I don't quite fit all that, but it doesn't always have to be about your sun sign. It can be your moon or your ascendant,
That's right.
and which can be, and it's a very strong sign. So it seems, I know those people, and it seems to overrule their sun sign in many, many ways. Very powerful.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm thinking of someone I know really well with a Capricorn moon.
Yeah.
And it shows very, very strongly.
Yeah.
It's a more sober, conservative, serious energy. It doesn't mean Capricorns don't have a sense of humor. They often have a very wicked sense of humor, but they'll say something hilarious with a completely deadpan face.
Yeah.
It's not slapstick. It's just very sharp and perceptive and very funny.
Yeah. The other thing is they often wear black and white.
They do. They do. That's right. It's not a colourful, flamboyant energy.
No, because it's simple. They don't have to think about putting things on. It's wearing black and white or just black. It's not about an expression, because it's not an expressive sign either, is it?
That's right.
Outwardly expressive. It's just practical.
It is, and you don't have to spend time in the shops looking at all these different colors and things. Exactly. Your wardrobe's full of that color.
Yes. Yeah. Not time wasting. Yep.
That's right. I've got other things to do. This is, so they streamline and cut back wherever they can to focus on the purpose. So I've often said to Capricorns in readings and so on, I'll use the word mission. You know, do you feel like you've come in with a mission? And there's always like, absolutely, yes,
Mm,
there's a mission, have a job to do.
yeah. So all of this that we've been talking about can come up with this new moon in Capricorn. And the other thing is about it being a new moon. Do you want to talk about that?
So the new moon is on the January the 11th, which is a great date. In fact, I know two Capricorns very well who were born on January the 11th. Isn't that interesting? So their birthday this year is going to be on the new moon. They're both astrology teachers, by the way, too, you know, and it's so interesting, isn't it, how these things happen. So the new moon will be at 20 degrees and 44 minutes of Capricorn. So the new moon, of course, is always the beginning of a 4-week lunar cycle when the sun and the moon are together. And so for a few nights, you know, we're in the dark of the moon, there's no moon at all. So the sun and the moon, the two lights or luminaries, are joined. And so that really, it's like, as I say that, I can feel it's like everything is honed in now on that point. But for those listening who know their chart, you know, think about where 20 degrees of Capricorn is in your chart. If you know it, like what house is that in? And that's the area of your life where this honed in Capricorn focus on the 11th and then over the following days and weeks is going to be really focusing its kind of laser energy. And it might be a good time to be really beginning to set something new in motion, you know, to plant the seeds for the 4-week cycle ahead. And it's the first new moon of the year, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And it's Capricorn. I mean, what a great time to be really thinking about the year ahead and what it is you want your focus to be about.
Yes, yeah.
You know, whether it's in a business or your work or career or in your own life. And again, the house that this lands in your chart, if you know it, will inform you a lot about that. You know, that's the area of life that's going to be focusing on.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, like some people say, well, I don't know what I want to focus on, you know, there's so many things, or I just don't know, it's a mystery to me. Well, this could actually help bring that focus into their life.
Absolutely. And that's great you mentioned that, because just the other day, I was driving somewhere and I was listening to a conversation on the ABC radio. And it was an interview with a woman from America who's developed this whole body of work around rest, talking about her grandmother and how her grandmother taught her this, you know, just by example. It was a very beautiful, interesting conversation. And I immediately got, that's my word for 2024, right? Because I didn't have real clarity about it, but listening to that conversation, bang, that's it. Right? So that's just for me. It's not that I won't continue to do all the things that I do, but embedded in all of that is a practice for me to rest. And that means a lot of things for me, right? I got very clear and very precise. I think that's a very Capricorn thing. Like that's the focus.
Yes, yeah. And important. Absolutely.
Very.
Yeah.
Very. Yeah. So a new moon, you know, like what seeds are we planting? What are we going to focus on? What are we going to... And as an earth sign, you know, you mentioned that before, the earth signs are very much about what we manifest.
Yeah.
And in Capricorn, it's the sign of the builder. You know, what are we building? What kind of steps are we putting in to build on something?
Yeah, it's the structure and the foundations and all that. And I'm just thinking, because my daughter's building a house, and every time I go over there, I see something new. This is new, that's new. Another piece of the puzzle is being put together methodically, carefully, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah. And it's taking time. So they have to have the patience to work through it. And her husband is actually building the house with his brother. So there's just two of them building the house, but they're getting it surprisingly done fairly quickly, but it's consistent, the consistency of it, you know, and slowly over time, you see the house coming together. And I think that's what Capricorn energy is all about, is that, you know, when you've got a project or something, It's being consistent, and that again, that enduring and sort of patience with the consistency.
Yes, and with all the challenges that will come up, as they inevitably will, you just keep going and you just hang in there.
Yeah.
And Mars is there now, which will really give great energy and assistance to a project like that. Like Capricorn, it's very real, isn't it? Hands-on. Yeah. So it could be a business, building a house, whatever is the thing.
Yeah. And I was just going to mention business because, it takes 3 years, a good 3 years to establish a business properly. And because I work with people who want to change their lives, change from sort of mainstream work to more of the work that we do, alternative healing or maybe astrology but sort of, and making that shift. But I said, you have to step at a time, step at a time. When you get enough clients, you cut down to 4 mainstream work days a year and have this other day you can add on to work. And you've got to build it and be patient about it.
And be realistic.
Realistic, yeah, practical.
Absolutely.
Work.
All the Capricorns I know, and in fact, a Capricorn friend said recently she was just asked to be the president of an organization, just a small organization, but still it's like taking on quite a lot. She already has a lot going on in her life with her own work. And she said, it's like, ask a busy person. Capricorn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So shall we have a look at the new moon chart just in general?
Let's do it.
So the new moon's at 20 degrees of Capricorn, and on the new moon, Pluto is sitting there at 29 degrees and 41 minutes of Capricorn. So he's kind of 9 degrees off the new moon, but really because he's so important for us, I'm going to include him in this new moon energy because he's about to change signs. So this new moon also has an exact square to the north and south nodes, those karmic nodes. That's really important. The north node's in Aries. Aries is a sign that's pretty gung-ho and impulsive. And Capricorn is saying, yes, I get it. You want to just go for it. How about we take a pause and slow down and get a bit organized and get a bit of a plan together first? So I think that's really very interesting. It's also square to Chiron, which is in Aries, and also Eris, that very slow moving outer body in the Kuiper belt, often referred to as a minor planet, moves very, very slowly. She's just the day after the new moon, actually, she's going to turn direct. So there's that fiery energy of Aries, Chiron, North Node, and Eris, which is very fiery and at times explosive and warlike, with this steadying influence of a Capricorn new moon.
Yeah, whoa, Nelly.
Yeah, and that there's a strong cardinal signs that push up against each other. Aries is the impulse and I want it now and I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah.
And Capricorn doesn't operate that way.
Yeah. Interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So that can create a bit of tension, between those energies. What else is going on around that? So as I said, at the new moon, Venus and Mercury is still in Sagittarius, but Mercury will come out of Sagittarius on the 14th and go into Capricorn. So for now, Mercury's still in Sag after his retrograde phase. He retrograded back from Capricorn to Sagittarius. Direct again, thankfully, but he's moving through Sag. So the mind is still quite active and inspired and positive. It's going to go into Capricorn on the 4th and on the 14th. So even our mind and our thinking is going to get right focus, discipline, order.
Quick-witted.
Yes, like Get your
Darkness.
act together.
Mm.
Sag is, in a way, it's a mutable sign. It's fire, so it's just full of spontaneity.
Mm. Mm.
Capricorn says, okay, you've had your fun. Come on. Please.
Oh, it's such a Debbie Downer, I tell
I
you.
know, check the clock. Come on, you've got to be there at such and such a time. Capricorns, by the way, are never late, ever.
I
Ever.
know. They're always early, actually.
Always. If I have a Capricorn coming for a session, even Capricorn rising, I know that I have to be ready ahead of time because they're going to show up early. It's just the
Yeah.
nature of the sign.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I live with the Virgo with Capricorn ascendant. So forever pacing, ready to get out the front door, like a racehorse in the, with the gate. Is it time to go?
And
Okay.
you're a
You're
going, oh, we'll be all right. We'll get there in just the perfect time.
They get really sort of, just pent up energy.
And always looking at the clock,
Yeah.
very time conscious. They haven't got time to waste.
Yeah, yeah. But when they have a project, they'll spend it all doing that
Absolutely.
till it's done.
That's exactly right, because that's their job. That's their purpose. Yeah. So Capricorn, Mercury into Capricorn, and then on the 19th, there's actually a quite a wonderful where am I? Trine between Mercury and Jupiter. So Jupiter is still moving through Taurus. Jupiter turned direct on New Year's Eve. So Jupiter is now moving forwards, and it will just keep going straight through Taurus now. Currently it's around 6, I think it is, 5, almost 6 degrees on the new moon. It's just going to keep going through Taurus now through to the middle of the year when it will change signs and go into Gemini, but we'll talk about that then. But Mercury on the 19th at 6 of Capricorn is going to form a lovely trine to Jupiter at 6 of Taurus. When you get these inner planets making trines to Jupiter, that's a very beneficial combination of energy. So for those few days around the 19th, I think that's a great time to be putting our minds to good practical work and use and getting organized. But the Jupiter is also a bit of inspiration, like, wow, I could see what I could do there. I can see, and then set about making it happen,
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think that's a very helpful couple of days when Mercury in Capricorn trines Jupiter. Very practical, very organized, very useful combination. But around the same time on the following day, Venus in Sagittarius is square Neptune. So there's a bit of a challenge there with those combinations, because Venus in Sag square Neptune just wants to relax, chill out, go to the beach, have a bit of fun, or maybe focus more on spiritual things, while the Mercury Jupiter trine in Earth is, down to business. So maybe there's a way to combine both.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
Two birds with one stone.
Now, then, of course, we come to the big story. The big story. I know you've been waiting for this. Can we just talk about that, please, the whole time?
Let's talk about that. Okay, I'll let you take
the Capricorn. On the late evening of January the 20th, there is a Sun-Pluto conjunction at 29 degrees and 59 minutes of Capricorn at quarter to midnight Brisbane time.
Interesting time, eh?
When we wake up the next morning, Pluto and the Sun together, this is the stuff that gives us goosebumps, exit Capricorn and move into Aquarius together in 0 degrees of Aquarius I love that. Like we knew that Pluto was going to go into Aquarius on this date and remain there till early September. So we're going to get a big chunk of time this year. But it's doing it on the same day, almost the same time as the sun. So talk about a powerful injection of Aquarius energy.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Going on to my ascendant. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I've been waiting for this for 2 years. What's going on?
I know. So there's still, Mercury and Mars in Capricorn, but where the sun is leaving Capricorn, so we often describe that as, so we're in a way leaving Capricorn season and coming into Aquarius, which happens every time this year, time of year, of course. And it's often a time when astrologers are very busy when the sun is in Aquarius, January into February.
Yeah.
Because that whole realm of the stars and the universe and the cosmos and astrology is very much to the fore. So I chose that time, to start a new foundation course this year, while the sun's in Aquarius. So that's amazing. So, watch this space. So that's on January the 21st.
21st, yeah. Yeah.
You're going to wake up on that morning and there's a noticeable change of energy. And, Capricorn is earth, grounded, pragmatic, physicality. Aquarius is mind, conscious.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots to happen in the next 20 years.
A lot.
Yeah, while Aquarius does its thing.
Yeah, and I think it's a momentous moment because of the sun doing this with Pluto. Like, talk about a wake-up call.
Yeah, to lots of things, actually.
Lots of things.
Yeah, a lot of things.
Yeah.
Would this be a nice time for me to talk about some of the things I wanted to talk about earlier?
Go for it. Absolutely, this Aquarius rising. Absolutely.
Well, what I wanted to just mention, and I'll just say mention because we could talk about this all day, but some of the challenges in the world when Pluto moves into Aquarius. And I think because Aquarius, we're thinking about new science, new inventions, those sorts of things. So, but I think there's going to be issues will arise around science versus ethics. And the use of science for destruction and the moral dilemma of scientific advancements. I think we're going to see quite a few issues arise around through that.
Yes.
Also, technological leaps, of course, but it's going to be so amazing that it will go, whoa, what? And I think that this major shift in how technology affects society positively and negatively. And it may be something that we don't even recognize as technology, because I was thinking about, I was actually watching someone talk about paper as a technology, because what happened was when they invented like paper where they can actually turn it into books.
Yes.
Like suddenly information's available. Initially, it was available to churches and the people in charge and those sorts of people. And then it became readily available to the public. And it was a technology that changed the world, because then we could educate ourselves about information. People could write down what they were finding and experimenting with, and the new science and all those sorts of things. So that was just amazing to me, how paper, I never thought of paper as a technology, but it changed forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're certainly in a time already and moving at accelerating rate into a period of most extraordinary technological developments. And I have a question around how much of that technology that's probably already here and coming is actually coming from human intelligence or off-world intelligence. You know, these are all questions that are going to really be coming up and coming to the fore, aren't they, on planet Earth? They're already relevant, but I think these things are going to be really huge and really big.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing that can come up, will come up, I'm sure, is a formal confirmation of extraterrestrial life. Because, as some people watching this now, I've been in the UFO research field for 36 years this year. And I've watched scientists change their tune from, we're alone in the universe to, we've probably never been alone in the universe. So the next shift is going to be, again, a big turnaround. And it'll change people's consciousness. It'll change our understanding of our place in the cosmos, really.
Yes, and Aquarius, the traditional ruler of Aquarius is Saturn, which also rules Capricorn, which is interesting. But the modern ruler, of course, is Uranus. And through the Uranus influence of Aquarius, these paradigm shifts often come as shockwaves. So for many people who haven't been and are still not open to all these ideas and possibilities, they could be in for a lot of shocks, like cataclysmic shocks, when the whole worldview is shattered. We're in for a very interesting time, and for many of us, exciting time, because of all these things.
Yeah. And, you mentioned Saturn being the classic ruler of Aquarius. Well, Saturn is restrictive. So we've had all these issues building, and I think they'll continue to build around technocracy. So, around, the government or control of society by industry or elite group of technical experts, who are working for the government, perhaps, or for industry, probably more likely. There's going to be this, this Saturn wants to restrict all of that, and the Aquarius doesn't want that to be restricted, so there's going to be some continued issues around that, I think. Definitely.
That's right, because the whole energy of Uranus is to rebel and break away from those controls. And the whole thing around science is, but who's paying for it and who are the scientists working for, really skews the results big time. A lot of people say, well, science is science. Well, actually, no, it depends who's paying for it and who's controlling it.
And
who's looking for a certain kind of an outcome. So all of that. And of course, Aquarius is also the sign of the people. Whereas Capricorn is, that they love to call themselves the elite, at the top of the mountain, with the goal to control absolutely everything. Ruthlessly, which is the really dark side of Capricorn, versus the people. So that's a massive shift of consciousness.
Huge. And I read someone said that on a collective level anyway, the highest expression of Pluto and Aquarius is the relinquishing of power and the creation of true democracy.
That's right.
And I think that's touches on what you just said, is that the toppling of the control from the top down, that to be from the bottom up.
That's right.
Or at least equal.
That's right.
Or equal,
So, Pluto sometimes works like an explosive detonation, to destroy. And so we're at the final stages of this Pluto and Capricorn story. And what I'm seeing, it may not be what everyone sees, is over this period of time, there's been a slow sort of demolition process going on around those structures of control and organization on this planet. On the one hand, they're trying to tighten the controls even more to get total, absolute control over the entire planet. But at the same time, there's a lot of signs and indications that things are cracking and breaking down and being demolished. And I think going forward for humanity to go through this massive shift in consciousness, those old structures just will not serve where we're going. As you said, true democracy, community, local communities organizing their own way of living and so on. Like I just see that humanity can completely change the way we organize ourselves on this planet.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the way it's been at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think one of the other issues that we're going to be facing too is because Aquarius is about it's about groups of people coming together and working in collaboration. So I think there's going to be some issues or some restructuring around globalization. Because in the 1990s, I think it was, the idea was with globalization that countries would become more democratic, which would lead to less warfare between them because everyone would become more interdependent. But now, as we've seen, many countries are now reassessing their supply chains. And in some cases, they're taking back production to within their own countries.
That's right.
So I think there's going to be a restructuring and reordering of on this idea around globalization.
I agree. And one of the main features of Aquarius at its best is about working together as humanity, as community, as groups, without a top-down control. It's about honoring everyone's individuality. So when we look at the world in different nations and cultures, everyone's allowed to have their own culture and cultural and national identity, but respecting and honoring their neighbor's right to do the same.
Yeah.
That requires another level of consciousness for that to that can't happen without a shift of consciousness.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like, we're free to be what we are, and that gets down to the individual as well. And so are you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I have no desire to take you over and run and control you. You're free to do your thing your way.
Yeah.
That's Aquarius, really.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
We've got a long way to go to get there, but
I don't know that's going to happen in 20 years, but we're going to start working through it.
Well, I think some of it will probably start to happen quite quickly.
Yeah, that's true.
But the whole transformation of humanity and life on this planet will take a while. But I think there will be some of it will start because there'll be an energetic support for that. Looking back, I remember back in the early 90s when all of a sudden the Berlin Wall came down.
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen?
I know, it was like shock. Oh, what?
And all of a sudden the USSR was disbanded.
Yeah.
Wow.
Overnight, bang.
And this is all around the same period. There was a conjunction of Uranus and Neptune, I think it was in early Capricorn, and suddenly apartheid was over. Things happened within about a 2-year period. I didn't see any of that coming.
No, I didn't either.
Because the moment had come.
Yes. Of course, there's a lot going along like lava underground, isn't it, before it comes up in that eruption?
There is.
There's a lot happening there.
So I would say with those 3 examples, there would have been a lot going on behind the scenes that we weren't seeing, and all of a sudden it's visible.
But it's what comes into the public arena that changes consciousness, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's such an interesting time.
Well, one more thing I wanted to touch on too is the AI revolution. And, we got a taste of Pluto in Aquarius when was it, March last year, for about 6 weeks. It's this little tweak, you know.
I know.
And we started to see in that time, like we were hearing about Chat GPT, and we're seeing the images starting to appear on social media. The artists were creating these pieces of artwork which were purely from this language interface with artificial intelligence, and you know, you're giving it instructions of what to do, and it would just go and do it and create it for you. And we saw the emergence of that in that short time. So I think the AI revolution is going to be quite spectacular, actually.
Yes, I will confess I'm not a fan, because
Yeah.
I like the creativity of the human soul and spirit, and I think that's devoid of that. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see that space and how that story unfolds.
Well, you know, I was reading a news piece in The Guardian, was from August last year, and was saying that The Guardian just questioned whether any content found on the internet after ChatGPT's release, and I think it quoted, said, can be truly trusted, and call for government regulation. And I think that's the problem. You know, this is the darker side of it all, is
That's right. That's right. We're seeing, you know, images in the last year or two on social media, and people go, oh, wow, that would be my dream home. And I'm looking at it and going, that's not real. I can, you know, I'm learning to tell when an image isn't real. It's just, it looks so amazing. And a lot of what's going on with AI is they're actually stealing artists' works and morphing them a little bit. So, you know, there's some dark, shady business going on around all that as well. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's going to be the challenge, is to tell what's real and what's not, you know.
that's right.
And maybe, yeah, maybe next year when what is it? Saturn and Neptune conjunct, don't they, next year in Pisces?
That's yeah, that will be sort of towards the end of next year and into early 2025. There's going to be this shift.
Yeah, in 2025.
Saturn and Neptune. That's,
Yeah.
I know there's some big shifts over the next couple of years. Big.
That's sort of like the culmination of point of how do I tell the
Yeah.
difference between anything now, you know? Yes, anyway, continue. So that was my little thing about just thoughts and things that I've been reading about, you know, what might happen or could happen, or the
Yes.
potential actually for Pluto Aquarius.
That's right.
But watch this space, because this person here is going to have Pluto go onto their ascendant. So I'm going to, you can see what comes out of the wash.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Right here in front of you.
Will be, and I present Exhibit A.
Exactly. Oh gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, big. That's a big transit. So January the 23rd, Venus will leave Sagittarius. So if you've still got a bit of partying to do and traveling to do and a few adventures to be had, well, Venus is in Sag is a great opportunity. She's going to go into Capricorn, and then Venus is going to roll up her sleeves and go, okay, right, all right, time to knuckle down and get on with things. January the 26th, which in Australia we call Australia Day, some of us refer to as something else altogether, but that's the full moon. That'll be the sort of peak of this current lunar cycle. And so it'll be a full moon at 5 degrees of Leo, opposite the sun, 5 of Aquarius with Pluto.
Yes.
That's going to be and square to Jupiter.
More to talk about that.
That's going to be a powerful full moon.
Yeah.
And on the same day, Uranus will turn direct. So it's going to be a Uranian full moon and a Plutonic full moon in Leo. Very strong. No, scrap that. Oh, actually, no, I was trying to decipher what my note was about. Now I remember. Uranus will turn direct on the full moon at 19 degrees of Taurus. So the Uranian energy will be strong over those few days. So Uranus is all, upheaval, the unexpected, sudden shockwaves, surprises. Australia's moon is 20 degrees of Taurus. Australia as a nation, its birth chart has 20 degrees of Taurus moon. So that Uranus station on that full moon is going to be on our moon. So, for those who like to look at those kind of things, what's going on around us, that might be an interesting one for Australia.
Yeah. And I was reading there's a couple of comets this year too. I'd have to do a bit more looking.
Oh, okay. I haven't.
One in April and one in October.
Right.
What, if any effect at all?
Yeah.
What they'll be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that full moon's, going to be a very interesting one.
Yeah. Buckle up.
Yes, exactly.
Buckle up and get down to it. I think it's buckle up with that Aquarius energy and get down to it with the Capricorn new moon.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, as we know with Aquarius, it's very important to form tribes and groups and community with people. Look, even just with your neighborhood, I have a couple of lovely neighbors around me, which is great. And just know that it's already happened. If anything happens in the neighborhood, one of the neighbors is knocking on your door, so I just want to let you know that blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, or, with like-minded souls and friends, and building those connections and communities is going to be really, really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, to not isolate ourselves and cut ourselves away. We need to connect.
Yeah, we sure do. Yeah.
Well,
thank you. There's a lot to chew on, people.
There is.
And there'll be a lot more through the year, I'm sure of it. So thank you, Babula, for all that info. That's very interesting. And did you want to give a shout out about your workshop?
Okay, sure. I'm going to run a 9-part foundation in astrology workshop this year. They'll be run roughly once a month, but I'm not sticking strictly to that. I'm not a Capricorn, I'm a Pisces, so it's going to be a little fluid, but one day a month at my place at Forest Lake in Brisbane. So it will be for people who live, in Southeast Queensland, say. One day a month, and we're going to go through all the foundations. So by the end of the course, over 9 classes, everyone will have a good grip on the basics of, the zodiac, the elements, the planets, the houses, aspects, and kind of how it all works together.
Yeah.
So it's going to be great. People are signing up for that. And if anyone's interested in that, who's getting interested in astrology, has already been dabbling for ages and just wants to get it more kind of solid and grounded, it's a great opportunity.
Very Capricornian of you, I have to say.
Absolutely. That's right. I just it really dropped in at the beginning of this year. Every year I think about it.
Yeah.
For some reason this year I went, the time is now. Let's do it.
Great.
Yeah.
I'll be there too. So okay. So well, thank you for all that info, and thank you everyone for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Do leave your comments. We love them. And subscribe or like, share, whatever you feel so called to. And we'll be back in another 2 weeks talking about the full moon.
We sure will.
Okay, so bye for now.
Bye, everyone.